Okay, hello, welcome. It's Thursday, October 13th. I'm Sue Sherman. I'm Vice Chair of the Timberlane Regional Budget Committee, and I'm pinch hitting tonight for our chair who is ill. So it is 7 o'clock. We're opening the meeting. So I'm calling the meeting to order with a quote from Walt Disney. Let's get doing things. And roll call, please, Kelly.
Okay. Christia Clare. Here. Catherine Consalvo. Sierra Dolce. Julie Hammond.
Here.
Michael Mascola.
Here.
Tom McCormick. Sue Sherman.
Here.
Karen White. Here. Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Okay. Can you all stand a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mark, would you like to lead us?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, first order of business is approval of the minutes. You should have a set there. Nicely done, Carrie. They're really, really, really well done. It's 4 pages. I'll listen for any corrections that anyone on the committee sees needs to be made.
Only thing I saw was a punctuation on page 2. Steve Finnegan and Mark Sherwood stated that the board would like to keep instead of state, but other than that, perfect.
Page 2 of 4. Oh, I see that. It's a simple grammatical mistake, no problem. I remind the committee that the minutes are the official record of the meeting, even though we have a great videographer. This is our official information, so being the minute taker is a powerful position. Okay, if not, I'll accept a motion to accept.
I'll
Mike?
make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as read.
Second.
Second for Mark. Any other discussion? If not, I'll take a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 0. Abstaining? 1. 5, 0, 1. The ayes have it. Thank you. And we are getting right into it. Any correspondence? Carrie, I gave you some stuff tonight, but Michael and I will take care of that later. And delegates and individuals, do we have anybody here in the audience that wants to speak to us other than they're here because they have to be here? How about administrative report? Maria, anything from the superintendent, et cetera?
Yes, I have something for the superintendent and assistant superintendent. They put together something for, neither of them could be here, so they wanted me to read it. They wanted to make a point that today marks the 30th operational day in this day with the students in the district for this school year. We are currently under the strategic plan. We are the strategic committee is currently engaged in soliciting stakeholder feedback and input. They also wanted to let you know that currently the district is pursuing partnership with post-secondary education institutions in order to serve as a host site for interns seeking opportunities in the education field. Currently the district is actively engaged with 4 organizations already and is looking to build the number of these partnerships over time. The district held the first professional development day for all the staff on September 28th. They provided 50 sessions of professional development to staff, including 20 discrete sessions. The admin team for the district have a half-day training on September 29th, providing time with the district attorney to align the current practice with the laws and policies specific to bullying, harassment, and other student-related matters. They also wanted to let families know that they will receive their iReady scores in mid-October based on their all assessment. TRS, the district schools are preparing for safety training, which is a schedule for alternating early release days throughout the remaining weeks of October. So each of the schools is going to have their safety training. As you know, the district is changing the safety measures that all of our staff are training on, and that is going to happen in the remaining weeks of October. Last week, we also wanted to let you know that last week we received the bids for the transportation RFP. We had to go out for bid for transportation services for the district. We went out and we received only 2 bids for special education and only 1 bid for regular transportation, which is the company that currently serves us. So we do not have an option. 4 companies came forward. The other 3 companies said they just couldn't put a bid out. So we are pretty much at the mercy of this one company that has served our district for the last 5 years. They also wanted to let you know that the district has now a digital bulletin board. If anybody's interested in putting anything in this board, they need to send any information to Kelly Salowich, which is the administrator for the superintendent. And then the high school student representatives from New Hampshire Tackles Hunger will be our next school board meeting, presenting the program for the district.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody? Looks like we're moving along, getting our school year going, so thank you, Maria, for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, reports of any committees. Anybody, Mark or Christy, you were at the CIP meeting. Did you want to talk about CIP?
Yeah, so there's been 2 meetings since our last meeting. The first one, the energy efficient company who's working on the performance contract came and spoke. So they had a lot of helpful information, kind of went over it. A lot of their stuff was kind of bigger than the CIP, yeah. So, and a lot of stuff, they did a great job. So we kind of asked them to go back and, prioritize the list, and so they did, and, we looked at the list and made a recommendation to the board about, based on that list, what would be prioritized and.
Yeah, prioritized by urgency, and we came up with a list 3-4 recommendations for year number 1, and perhaps the next tiered recommendations for 2. Obviously, there's a lot more that needs to be done because we're drastically underspent on the maintenance, and it's catching up with us now, but so we're prioritizing roofs that the engineers say could fail within a year or 2, and items like that are just must-haves to keep a school open, so this should be fun.
There's a lot of exciting stuff on there too that it would
Yes,
be nice. I mean, I think the bottom line is that we're finding that, if this is the direction that we're going, we're gonna have to invest some money into these schools, but it's a good start.
Yeah, just to wrap that up, if I could, what we have learned is that school buildings in general in New England, they're on about a 20-year life cycle, and we are beyond that for all of our schools. So, we have to start looking and decide where we want to take this as a district and what makes sense both short-term as well as, intermediate and long-term. So, yeah, lots more coming forward.
And that's the hardest part about being on a CIP. Julie's participated, is looking further ahead like that, looking out 5-6 years or 10 years, and then looking back from where we started this whole thing. That some of our needs have been there since the beginning, the first go round, and will continue to be there because it's an aging buildings, facilities, fields,
Yeah.
classroom. It just
Right.
continues. So.
Well, I think the good thing about this performance contract is that it's giving us an idea
of how much we're going to save and how it's bringing us into the 21st century. So, right down to just, we've been installing the LED lights, but if we could put in a system that allows us to dim these lights or whatever, it's kind of a big ticket number, but the savings is really quite impressive, so a lot of these, having them lay it out and see how we're actually going to benefit in the savings is eye-opening.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions for Mark and Christie?
So thorough. No questions. Yeah, you were very good.
Strategic plan meeting, we haven't had a meeting since the last time we met.
Yeah, we have not.
We have not, but I think we've got one coming up, maybe next week, looking at my book here. So we'll see where that all fits. It all, we understand it all fits in together, the budget, the CIP, strategic planning, long-term planning, short-term planning, curriculum. It's all maintenance, facilities, it all is it's sometimes difficult to get all the pieces together, but hopefully working together we can, so. We'll keep you posted on what's happening on the strategic plan. Okay, anybody else been at a meeting or been at an event that they wanted to mention? Football games or band things or open houses or? All right, then on to new business. We have presentations from our elementary program, schools tonight, so we're gonna start with Sandown Central, and we'll welcome the principal to come on up.
Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? Good. So our budget for this year is pretty simple. We're asking for an additional $1,000, and that is primarily to offset the cost of shipping, of copying paper, and of the price of copying in the building. What I've done is I've decreased a couple of lines. I can go through that if you'd like to know, and I've increased a couple of lines. Basically, the first decrease is the $1,500 out of the general book account. Last year, you were really generous and gave us a great amount to purchase books. Our school was very short on books to teach kindergarten students how to read. So we were able to use that money and purchase books over the summer. They're now in the classrooms being used, so thank you very, very much for that. We also building in service. Once we took a look at that and what we had left over from last year, and I really started having conversations with Sandy and Lucy, it just became very clear that the district does such a great job of meeting the needs of early childhood educators, and those are the only teachers we have in our building. And we felt a responsibility to decrease that amount of money because we really don't need that amount of money in that building for in-service training. And we also decreased the field trip co-curricular amount by $1,000, and the reason that we did that is because 3-year-olds cannot legally ride on a school bus in the state of New Hampshire, so they will not be taking a field trip using transportation unless we had small buses, and that would be extremely costly. And taking 3-year-olds on a field trip is, I don't know, I wouldn't feel really great about that, so. So those were decreased, and the increase, again, was $1,300 in the general supply, which is the offset that I talked about at the beginning. And the second increase is a more substantial increase in new equipment. We have a very, very small playground. We have many, many children who have significant motor issues, who need specific, opportunity to climb. And we are also in the middle of a playground project that has been created and expressed by the teachers, that we would like to enhance the ability for outdoor play in terms of creative play outside. So this will be a multi-year project that we will also do fundraising to offset. But for this year, last year at the end of the year, we asked the kindergarten students through their play opportunities and guided play through learning to design the perfect playground. And I can tell you that I didn't budget for the trampolines, and I didn't budget for the fire pits, but I did, and we really struggled with this. I have to tell you that the physical therapist and the occupational therapist and I had a lot of conversation because the children overall have asked for monkey bars. However, they could be significantly dangerous to very, very young children. So they proposed that we purchase a piece of playground equipment that is a dome. They have these at other schools. I know Atkinson has a dome. This is a very small dome which would fit the population of the school. And that dome will provide the same type of motor development as a monkey bar would. So I think whatever we put out, the kids would like. And we're also asking for a balance beam, as a lot of children really, really like to balance on a balance beam. And it is developmentally appropriate for 3 to 5 year olds to have practice with that. So that's the increase, and that's all I've got.
Thanks, Patrice. Will the balance beam be outside, or will that be an inside
We have inside
piece?
balance beams, but they make them for outside, and they are, they're put into the ground, so facilities would need to come and secure it. It wouldn't just be lying there on top,
Yeah.
it would be stable.
So this $3,100, what exactly does that represent? If this is a multi-year project and they'll be doing some fundraising, so is this, priming the pump, or is this?
This
the
is
dome?
really the equipment piece.
Okay.
I don't know that we can put much more equipment out there. We've got 2 great swing sets, and we added a swing set last year that was purchased the year before. And we have a very nice structure with slides and a little rock wall. We have a sandbox that really needs to be replaced, but that's something that could be done with fundraising money. We also have the desire to build a sensory walk, which is a really, really interesting idea of you build a walkway, and then in squares, you put like bricks in one square and maybe a different type of a foam or something in another square and pebbles in another square.
This is where your fire pit comes in.
Well, I guess. They might use it, because they're pretending out there. But, so that's another piece that I think will use some of the money that we had from last year's fundraising and for this year's to build the sensory walk. And there's other pieces that I think are more easily funded, such as the walk that Sandown North has. They have a path. We would like to have that because we have tricycles, and children could use the path. Right now, they can't use the tricycles outside. They can only use them in the gym. So that is an easier piece to fund than the playground equipment, which is much more expensive. So I don't think that we would be asking for another piece of equipment. The other piece is in the budget if you look through it. Is the repair of a piece of equipment, because it was ruined, we think, over the 4th of July. And we do have a quote on how much it would cost to repair it, so I put it in the budget.
Excellent.
Other questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Stafford. I'm here to talk about Sandown North and our budget. And when I was hearing that comment about buildings and 20 years, we're in our 21st year at Sandown North. But I'm fortunate we have wonderful custodians who do such a great job keeping up on everything. One of the things I'm really happy to not be talking about tonight is a new wall, because we got it for several years since I've been coming to the budget committee. I'm always talking about the wall, and we got our wall that separates our CAF from our gym, because the one we had was 20 years old. So it's wonderful. It's like it was the biggest excitement from the kids and the staff when they saw that. So, thank you. Looking at our budget, I really worked hard to maintain a level-funded budget. That being said, we do anticipate that there's a good chance we're going to need an additional third grade next year. And so obviously for some of that, we will need some additional materials and furniture, although I feel pretty good with the furniture where we're at, because we had gone down in second grade a couple of years ago. We were, this year we don't anticipate for next year many large equipment purchases, so that really helped to kind of balance everything. Supplies, sure you'll hear it from everybody. As you know, just as everything's going up, supplies and are going up with inflation, and we did need to add some additional costs. Just shipping. Sometimes we look at shipping charges of things, and it's awful. Maria's doing a lot with all of us and trying to do things as a district when we have to order. Sometimes I joke it's like the Timberlane swap shop when people, especially at the beginning of the year, when people, post, hey, I need this, or we have this. And it's worked out, it has worked out well, but you can only do that so often. And I know we were in need of some of the petitions, and we put something out and we got something. The other principals are great with that. So I think having that mindset has really helped as a district. Looking over what some of my increases are around, it is around supplies, the additional classroom, adding the cost of our copies and toners back into our budget. We also have one of the bigger items is on the second page, and it's the need to really replace our overhead projector. We use it a ton in our cafetorium, and it's really kind of run its course. It's very outdated. The quality is not good at all and doesn't meet the needs of the room. We use it for faculty meetings, parent meetings, presentations, and of course our student and staff community meetings that we have. So that's something.
Can we stay within the order of this so
Oh, I'm
it's not
sorry.
confusing?
Yep.
It's jumping around. It's kind of.
Oh,
at least
okay.
for me,
I
it's
didn't know if I
confusing.
had to hit every area, so
As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to hit every area. and
Okay.
You're doing fine, Nancy.
Just over 1,000, yeah.
Okay. So back on the first page, we did have the additional access fees for something called Learning A to Z, which was something I needed to add to my budget this year, for the upcoming year. So there was an increase of that. Under new equipment, we do have I was able to lower that by a little over 4,000. And as I said, even if we do need an additional classroom, schools, we're always going up and down, right, with the number of classrooms, but we don't just, if we decrease, it's not like we get rid of it. We hold on even if we need to store it someplace else, because we know our numbers do fluctuate. So I was able to make that decrease there. Under building in service, as we all do, we look across the number of years. It's been a little trickier with COVID, but we're able to, I feel like I'm better able to see a pattern and know a little deeper the needs. And so I was able to decrease that amount by 1,000. I talked about the AV replacement equipment and our general supplies. Again, just looking at what was budgeted and what was used. We used up most of it, but still pretty consistently, we've had a couple of thousand. So I feel pretty comfortable decreasing it by that amount. principal's office, the old walkie-talkies, those things are expensive. So, we increase, a certain number at a time. So the walkie-talkies and the batteries. And custodial maintenance supplies, again, we had not expended all of it over recent years, so just looking historically at that. Again, I feel pretty comfortable with that.
So let's go back, Nancy, to your AV needs in your cafeteria. Have you talked to Ken Henderson about that particular piece of equipment? Is that something that can come out of technology?
It can't, I talked to Dean about it, and I know, but that isn't something that can come out of technology at this point. It's coming out of, it was something that was gonna need to come out of my.
I just was thinking he might be able to get it better price for you.
Yeah, I know they're definitely looking at that, and Dean has been helpful, kind of, because I needed some numbers to come here with.
So this is the projector that's on the ceiling?
Correct.
'Cause when you said overhead projector, I think of the old
Right.
standing.
Yeah, no, it's very high up.
It's the
Yeah.
camera projector
Yeah.
on the ceiling. Yeah.
It is quite rough. It's very grainy.
Yeah.
Always a faded picture.
Yeah.
I've been to enough Monday morning
Yes.
meetings to see that.
You have to shut off all the lights if you want to show anything.
That should come out of the technology budget.
So here's the thing, in the technology budget, Ken has, a very strict schedule of replacement equipment. And he has the overhead projectors in the classrooms.
Classrooms, yeah.
But not, okay.
This is a different piece of equipment because this is probably something that is gonna last for another 10 or 15 years. It's not in the cycle of every 4 or 5 years. Because it's a bigger, it's a different piece of equipment, so that's really not a technology piece.
Okay.
It is technology, and they are assisting her
Belongs there.
in buying, in the
Doesn't
specifications.
belong
so
in the building
why
budget, it
not?
belongs in the technology budget, but that's just my humble opinion. Shouldn't come out of her budget.
So
We
I
can-
just had a general question, not that you would be able to answer this one, but do all the elementary schools have this type of equipment for their cafeteria or
Wherever they
auditorium?
meet.
Do you?
Atkinson does,
Atkinson
Danville-
does, Sandown Central does not, Pollard does not. That, you have a unit, but it's not in the ceiling.
So does anybody have this piece of equipment that's hanging down in your large space?
Classroom zone.
Classrooms.
Classrooms only.
Okay. So is that a need that every school needs then?
Well, I'd like them all to be alike, but I'd like them all to have the best technology we can
Yep.
give them.
Okay.
Everybody, the rolling cart thing with 1,000 cords, and, kids climbing over cords and don't sit in the cord because you're sitting on the floor at Pollard Cafeteria while you watch, makes me a little crazy when it should be up in the ceiling.
One fast question, no, the refrigerator for 800 in the staff room, when we
Yeah.
had taken the tour before, there was a comment that it wasn't getting cold enough, and it was noticed that the internal thermostat was not set to the coldest.
Yeah.
And so I believe Carl did that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that did not resolve the problem.
It did not.
Okay.
It did not, yeah. And again, it's old. Had it for a long time.
I just had one more question. On the first item on this summary proposed budget, under the supplies, general elementary, what, in that $5,035, what is included in there? I mean, I see copies and toner, but
Yeah,
are you talking
Let's see,
about
let me-
desks? This is for a new classroom?
610, I'm just looking because it has it all on here. So it has and then it has things like student supplies and whiteboards, headphones. I'll tell you, the whiteboards are expensive too.
These are the large
In
ones,
fact-
physically in a room, not little.
Yep, some of the large and some of the small ones too, because they use those a ton. But one of the things that we priced it out before, the whiteboards, and replacing all of those. Again, it comes back to how many years the building has been there, and the teachers do a great job trying to clean it off, and but at some point, they do need to be replaced. But the others, some of them also are the headphones. Kids are using them a lot. I know we tried to get like the earbuds. They were cheap. They were cheap, and they were cheap. So looking at getting, they got better ones for our first and second graders. Some of our upper grades, the kids like to use their own and have their own pair, and they're a little more responsible with them. But the copy and toner stuff is a lot.
So let me clarify with that though, because the toner is not, the schools are not charged for toner. So last year we changed out all the copiers in our district. And the contract that we used to have, it was around $200,000, the cost for the printing in the entire district. The new contract that we got is $110,000 for the lease and the toner. So
Lease
it's-
and toner.
Lease and toner. So that's district-wide is 114,000.
And then you
$114,000.
added the additional 50.
And then we get charged for the copies per copy. So if we use a lot, then we get charged for every copy that we do, black and white and color.
The color is.
So that
All
is the
across the district, not just here. You're talking about the entire
yeah, the
school
entire
district.
All the
district,
schools.
yes. So that is the portion that it was a confusion when the year that we got the list, which actually wasn't last year, was the year before. I thought everything was incorporated to move district-wide by my predecessor, but that wasn't the case. We put the lease payment, which is the 114 on district-wide, but then we told the schools we were going to take them. That happened, but we didn't put it district-wide, so now the schools are putting back the money that they gave up for the copies. So it's only for copies that they get charged. If you print 1,000 copies, you get charged for 1,000 copies.
So it's just not toner on this?
No. It's just the number of specific copies that each school does, color and black and white.
And the color is, and they're real, our secretaries are really, does that need to be in color? They're like right on it, you know? And went through and explained changing the settings because the teachers put through the copies through their computers in their classroom, and then they go pick it up, and we all have our little, what do you call them, fobs to print it out. And so there is a setting, you have to change it so it doesn't automatically come in color, those kinds of things. The other piece I wanted to mention was under student supplies. Every year with our incoming first graders, or when we get new families in our district, they always will, somebody will call, I'll get a few calls, what are my kids, I haven't gotten the list yet of what we have to buy for supplies. And they're thrilled to hear that they're at elementary, the kids don't need to bring anything, we supply it for them. I really appreciate that as a principal. It's really a nice thing for families. Nobody is coming in, I mean, will kids show up with their own little pencil box and things? Of course. But I think that really kind of levels the playing field, because that is something that makes a difference for kids. Seems kind of silly to us, but it is something that can make a difference. So I do appreciate that that's something that we're still able to provide for our families.
How about the back orders? Have you had a lot of back orders of supplies this year and equipment? I was gonna ask Patrice that, and I forgot. Because then you order, I don't know, hand lotion, I don't know, at your nurse's office, and
Just as an
it's just as an example. And it's not in the order. And it comes 3 weeks later, and the shipping's twice the price of the hand lotion. And that's not the person who does the ordering's fault, that's the company who has held you up
Right.
with the shipping. It's, we didn't order a jar of hand lotion, we ordered a big bunch of stuff, and the back orders are killing us
Yeah.
with the excess shipping
Yeah.
supplies.
Yeah.
So you've added in.
We've all felt that.
Yeah, okay.
Can you just elaborate on that? So you order a bunch of stuff, some gets back ordered, so instead of one shipping bundle,
Yeah,
they're hitting you shipping for every incremental?
they could.
That's what they did with one of the nurses' order, which little.
I mean, just using that as an example.
And it happens.
Yeah, the-
And the encumbrances this year, that I rolled over at year end were significantly different than the prior year because of all the back orders.
Back orders and shipping.
And it was across the district.
Because there were items that we had already ordered, the orders were placed, the POs were issued.
Yeah.
And then we never
So their whole-
received them, so.
We're at their
Mercy.
mercy.
Yeah.
It's not the orderer's fault, it's the company, the supplier's fault that they can't supply you, and then they hit you with a big shipment charge.
The paper,
Paper
you're
cost.
lucky if you find, the cost, first of all, has more than double
Right,
the cost of paper. And then you're lucky if you
and find it.
can find one box of paper,
Yeah.
right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wondered if that was continuing to be an issue for you, backing orders of,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that's still happening to you guys.
I just have a quick question on the walkie-talkies. It's more just out of curiosity. So you said you're replacing them over time because they're expensive. So how many walkie-talkies would this replace, and how many are you looking to replace overall?
So we have probably close to 15 walkie-talkies, I think. And I want to say, they're like a couple $100, I think. And the batteries, yeah.
400 because the battery.
Yeah, and the batteries are like crazy expensive. But they do, we upgraded them a few years ago, but we still have some of the old ones, so we're continuing to do that as well. But we
So-
gotta have them too.
Yeah.
Last
That
year
seems
we
like a
did-
safety.
Last year, we did a survey in all the schools district-wide, how many walkie-talkies we had, to see if we could go bulk purchase for the entire district. And we decided not to do it because each of the schools had always been responsible for their own. So they all are in completely different cycles.
Right. Sure.
So last year, when we did the inquire, it was only like district-wide, we only needed like 9 walkie-talkies. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go and purchase 300 walkie-talkies and spend all this money to get new equipment
Yeah.
when we don't really need it. So we were like, okay, well, it was a good exercise. We realized that, well, we're not in that bad shape. And I think each school has done a very good job in replacing year after year, or when they need it. So we did look into it, but it wasn't worth it, so.
Let's just say those days that I get home and realize I still have my walkie on me, I'm like, and I like put it right in my car and lock the door.
Nice. Anything else for Nancy?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
And now we have, I can't read it without.
Pollard.
Pollard. I'm sorry. Hi.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Stephanie Lafreniere. I'm new this year at Pollard, so thanks for having me. And I'm really enjoying the school community. It's really wonderful. So I'm happy to be a part of it. In terms of the budget, I think I'll start out by saying that I think the previous principal did a nice job preparing the budget for this year. And I think As this year goes on, I'll learn a little bit more, whether there's things that could shift in future years. I think, having been an administrator before here, I think predicting through COVID has been kind of challenging, and it's helped reprioritize things, have people give things a second look. So I think as I go through this year, I'll be taking a lot of notes and trying to figure out if there's different projects that we need to do, get into some cycles on some different things. As people used more software programs during the COVID years, or, what are we maintaining and still using, and what do we need more, hands-on in front of us. So for this year, pretty much keeping it similar. You'll see there's just an increase of $241. And I think, keeping in mind, Maria and I had conversations in terms of, looking at trying to pass contracts and things like that. So trying to keep a level budget as much as possible. There were many tweaks in terms of the details. So there were things like in supplies, shifting and buying something, but offsetting that within that line. So although you don't see a lot of changes here within the details, working with my staff, there are some things. And I think in the future, just to kind of give some highlights, I think we'll be looking a little bit at our library. I was going to maybe put it into this proposal, but I'm going to put it off a year, again, due to the contracts and everything, but looking at our shelving and having it more mobile so that we can reconfigure things in our library possibly and showcase books more. A lot of kids are more apt to pick books if they're looking at the cover rather than just all the bindings, so I think we'll be looking for some shifts there. And then, similar to Patrice, looking at our playground equipment in the future. Really looking to see if we can do some more things tailored to preschool and kindergarten. But I think we'll spend this year kind of looking at that and seeing if there's other sources for some of those things as well, because that's usually something that people can sign on to and support. So you'll see in front of you that the increases of more than $1,000 or decrease of $1,000 is really within our equipment line and our supply line. So it's a kind of an even swap there, where we have decreased the supply line by $2,410, and that will offset the cost of a new laminator. We have a laminator that's 10 years old, if not a little bit more, and it's actually difficult to get new parts for. And if you haven't worked in a school, you don't realize how important the laminator is to staff. It's like their holy grail. It's really,
Don't mess with laminator.
yeah. There's laminator police in every school, not everybody can touch the machine. But no, it is highly used, so we really need to have that in good working order. But other than that, you'll see some increases here and there, changing some subscriptions and changing some supplies. I think the school did a nice job too, replenishing after COVID and trying to use up supplies that had been. So if you look at some of the lines, some of them might have been different over the last year or two, and some of that was due to the changes in use based on, COVID and remote years too, in person.
Your population doesn't look like it's gonna be increasing and need another classroom.
Yeah, no, I think if anything, it's just shifting within. So for instance, our first grade is our largest class, largest grade this year. So they'll be shifting, but it kind of evens out pretty much.
Questions for Pollard?
This is just a general question, because I noticed, not so much you, I don't know who can answer it, but is our trend for population on the rise again? Student population? Because I'm noticing each school's got a slight tick upward.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody knows?
That is the projected trend.
It is the projected
It
trend.
has been with Sandowns being the largest tick.
Sundown and Danville, because are the towns that have a lot of land. So new families build houses, and whether Plasto and Atkinson are towns that are pretty much set
Well,
up.
Plastos is a much more fluid, transient population, a lot of apartments over here. They come, they go,
Okay.
I think with all the remote working too, it's hard to predict, there's a lot more like people that can shift and move to different places
Right.
now that they can work remotely, so
Right.
even that I think will have an impact.
You think you can go another year without this library? Because I thought in some of the documentary we got that you were kind of interested in doing that this year.
So I was, just in talking to, Maria and others, just trying to like prioritize, trying to, keep this minimal so that we can pass the contracts. I think it's something that I've had conversations with Pat, our librarian, in terms of kind of long-term vision for the library. I'll even see if there's something within the budget this year that, allows for us to chip away at some of these things that I mentioned, then we can try to do that this year. And,
Always request it on a CIP.
Go
Go big.
I told Stephanie that we will definitely look more towards the spring to see when we know already what is and what is not. If we can
Yeah, if I see,
squeeze
like,
it
for
in
instance,
and
if there's a-
find some additional resources from other places.
yeah, if there's
we
something
can-
within curriculum or supplies or something that could be shifted this year, well, then I know if I've kind of evenly funded for next year, then maybe I could use both years to chip away at some of these projects.
Anything else for Paula? Thank you, Stephanie. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you, guys.
And now we have Danville.
Nice to
Hello
see
there.
you. Thanks for taking the time this evening. So I'll just be upfront and honest and tell you that I have a much larger increase proposed in our budget than what you've heard from others.
Yes, you do.
So, I'll go through, the rationale for that, but really the way I kind of looked at it this year, I'm certainly sensitive to contracts being passed and all of those things, and I don't want to ask for things that are exorbitant by any means, but, a year ago when I sat here, newly hired, trying to get the lay of the land and all that stuff, one of the questions I was asked was to really take that first year and evaluate, what are the things that you truly need? And I think some of that is reflected here, based on my observations and then feedback that I've received from, our staff and even people outside of our staff here at the SAU. And we'll just kind of go through that in the decreases and the increases. So on my summary sheet, the first one has to do with just our general supplies. It's the same story that you've heard. Increased cost for toner, for copiers and things like that. Plus then the biggest increase is the cost of copy paper itself. So, yes, it's gonna cost more to ship things, but if you can find copy paper anywhere right now, getting it here is next to impossible. But we do expect that cost is going to remain where it is, if not increase, which is why that's the biggest, I think, numerical increase in the entire summary. There is a decrease in our supplies for elementary curriculum. Sorry for some of the lingo in the description. We use an online subscription here at school. I think all of our elementary schools use an online subscription from Learning A to Z is the company. We're actually downgrading at Danville from what they call RAS Plus to just Reading A to Z.
Excuse me.
The difference is the teachers will have access to resources that they can print or project, but students will no longer have access to like online digital books that they had needed access to a lot of those resources during remote learning and things like that. It's not that we don't need access to online reading resources like that, but we have access to them through other means, so we can.
So you'll be downgrading to the RAS that Sandown North currently has? You were upgraded before, now you'll be
Correct.
on.
Yes, yep. So we'll be in line with what other schools have. On the back side of the sheet, or the second page, I am asking for an increase for books that are general elementary. It's similar to a comment that Patrice Lift just made about TLC. One of the things that I've heard clearly from our staff is that they need resources for what we call mentor texts and even just classroom library resources. So if you were to walk in, we want to have attractive resources for our students to be reading independently and for our teachers to be using in their instruction. So the thought is that we would ask for an increase that would allow each teacher to have an allocation of money to then increase those resources that they have or refresh some of them that are dated and things like that for their classroom library use. If you look at the next one, it's the new equipment general elementary, that line. This is probably the area where we're going to spend the most because the equipment involved in this is expensive. So one of the things I noticed right away is that there were very few area rugs in our classrooms that are fire rated, which is something that's essential through our fire departments and their inspections. And so last year, we purchased a number of them, and the idea is that we would allocate similar amounts of money for those so that we can outfit our classrooms so that when teachers want to gather all of their class in one area, they have a soft surface to sit on that is fire rated and relatively easy to clean. So we've outfitted all of our K through 2 classrooms this year. We're hoping to outfit our 3rd and 4th grade classrooms with that, along with some furniture that supports what we call flexible seating. Similar to home, we all have our favorite place to read a book. It's not necessarily a hard chair that's attached to a desk. So there are options that are out there, some of them through consult with OT and PT, allow students who need to move the ability to do that safely, and also not in a way that's going to disrupt the learning of other students around them. So we have that built in for a few of like wiggly stool kind of things that are safe, again, fire rated and all that kind of stuff that are designed for schools. But we would purchase some of those. And then we allocated money for a Gaga pit, if you're not familiar with that. This is one of the big things that came through when some of you came through. I know they have one at Sandown North, right? So one of the things that I heard from the students when I started was we need some upgraded equipment on our playground. And as you all know, that's very expensive to do. So this is a relatively, I'm not going to say it's inexpensive, but in terms of what you could purchase for a brand new playground piece of equipment, this is very affordable. But it's also something that our upper elementary age students would really appreciate and enjoy. And it's a resource that I think would not only be used immediately, but it would last for a very long time because it's designed to hold up very well over time. Building in service, that's actually a decrease of $1,000. So there's roughly $3,000 in that account. What I did not know until just recently is that there's $1,000 dedicated from the SAU budget for a similar purpose that can come to the building. So rather than use that 1,000 plus keep the 3,000 that was there, I just decreased that line by 1,000 to kind of bring that in line with what we've used before. And then finally, the last piece you'll see here is an audio-visual equipment. Mrs. Sherman, this might be in the same context of the projector at Sandown North. Apparently, and I did not know this, Danville Elementary School, as I'm told by somebody in the room, Mr. Zanillo, we are the only school that does not have a portable sound system with speakers and wireless microphone capability to be used for events throughout our building. If we want to have something outside or in a different location, it makes it very easy to set up and move. We have that capability available to us, but anytime that we want to use it, it has to come from another location. So Dean actually helped me find something that's comparable to what's in our other buildings, and that's what that $2,700 would be dedicated to purchasing, is equipment that would be comparable. So that's how we arrived at.
Yeah. How frequently are you utilizing that and borrowing it from the other schools?
So anytime that we would have like a large event, like a 5th grade celebration kind of idea, if we're going, we don't use it now because we don't have it, but we have an outdated sound system in our gym. It sounds like a tin can when you're speaking into the microphone, but we would use that if we ever needed to for a whole school assembly. But this equipment would allow us, if we had field day outside, those kinds of things where you need sound. If we were going to do a Halloween parade and we wanted to have music available in the background, things like that, it would be very versatile and used very, very regularly. So.
If I could ask your fellow principals who do have access to this, how frequently do you use it and the value of it to you?
I mean, Sandown North, we use it a lot, for our morning meetings, and like I said, I mean, we use it with faculty a lot, at faculty meetings, at our district meetings, when there's always presentation, our
Right.
district staff meetings, parent meetings,
Yeah.
It's utilized.
it's
I-
utilized,
Yeah,
yes.
and same thing for Atkinson, I mean, we have at least monthly meetings with, the whole school gathering together, so we need that. Ours is portable so that we can take it outside. Over COVID, we didn't get a lot of use out of it because we couldn't bring everybody together. But one of the things that's nice, and as Nancy was talking about the overhead projector for that large group population, I think, and I don't know the cost of your overhead projector, but I know when you're projecting for a large group, those projectors jump up way, significantly in price. And I know that the one that we have at Atkinson that's mobile, it goes just between our gym and sometimes to our PLC room. And it's a much nicer system.
Yeah.
It's crisp and clear and great. And it's great for presentations for 300 to 400 people, so.
Perfect. You can buy him coffee after.
Well, every building should have
Yeah.
a sound system.
Yeah.
They all should have it. And I'm gonna ask about paper. I don't understand why we don't buy paper out of a district budget. Why is his building buy his paper and she buys her paper and Paula buys it? I thought we used to buy the paper as a district, no? You buy your own paper?
Not as far as I can see. Not not since 2018, let me put it that way,
I don't remember that we ever bought it by.
Bought it?
District.
by the district.
But what if they have different uses, different buildings?
So
Oh,
this
say
is,
white copy paper. I bet every building uses
Hey,
a
probably love it.
slew of this,
Yeah.
right? I'm not talking about cardstock or pink.
Right.
Or you want pink and he wants blue and she wants yellow, color of the school, right? I'm talking about plain old white copy paper. I realize we can't find it anyplace, so thank you Staples, but why don't we buy that as a bulk item?
so last year, we also look into that, with the state of New Hampshire has
Wouldn't we
a
save
list
money?
of vendors, yes, so companies right now are not committed to bulk, solid paper.
Oh, so they can,
They do not.
The squeeze.
we can.
Because they don't,
Shipment,
they cannot
shipment,
guarantee
shipment.
the, so we did look, actually Kelly Salowich, when she was in the reception, she did that for the walkie-talkies and for the paper, and the water. Water district, like walkie-talkies and paper. And the paper, the providers that they had in the consortium, on the New Hampshire consortium that they have, would not sign up for
Play.
the volume that we needed district-wide. Definitely something that we already have in mind, and I will keep looking until we can
Every
find.
school in the state of New Hampshire needs plain old white copy paper. Every school. What is there, 440-something schools? I don't know. I can't believe they don't have a district contract for paper.
Well,
And the
like I said,
shipment
we-
goes all to the middle school, and then the poor middle school janitor has to ship some to you and some to you. and some- But he gets his 22 boxes and she gets her. I don't
That's
get
the
it.
other thing, that when you do a district-wide purchase, usually the company will ship to one location.
Yeah, they're to the middle
So you
school.
will have to.
Additional
right,
shipping
But you will
costs.
have to,
But you don't have the additional shipping cost. It
Oh,
all
you
goes
do.
to middle school.
yeah,
then what's
and,
the
but
middle
then you have to have an employee
Who
that
gets it from the middle?
distributes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the good old janitor comes down from Sandown and picks up the paper in the back of his truck.
Pick up coffee on the way back, I'm sprint for that.
Oh, you want
can
my
deliver it to
truck, you
Danville.
can
I have
have
a
my
truck.
truck.
I'll
I'll
deliver.
I can't load it in the truck, but I don't get, I would think that would save the district. This paper's expensive.
Yes, like I said, we look into it too, but we cannot find a company
Okay,
That's
keep
willing to
looking.
do
that will
Then this
sell.
wouldn't have to be in their budget.
Right.
They could use that money for a projector.
Well, we don't have the money in the district-wide budget, we will
Well,
have to.
put it
move
over
out.
there.
Okay, yeah, yeah, definitely we can look into it, no question, but we have.
And the
no
principal
question
doesn't have
about
to
it.
beg for paper. Unless he runs out, then you're in trouble. I know.
We've been close.
Yeah, I know.
Not gonna lie.
I don't think we had been restraining anybody from
No, you
buying
can have all the
We-
paper we can
yeah,
find.
Absolutely.
That's it, right,
Right? No, we don't.
right.
No,
So is it a tough commodity right now?
It is.
the price is tough,
And
yes, and
the
it's
price
expensive.
more than double per case.
Which is crazy
Jack
because
saved
lumber's
you on
gone
the
down
eater.
and wood's gone down,
Not paper.
No
not
paper.
paper, or maybe slag.
It's a high commodity right now.
And nobody's recycling. Nobody wants to buy the recycled paper either. It's interesting.
More expensive.
Sure. Because it's
Weirdly
another
enough, it's more
process.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we digress. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, Atkinson, hi.
Hello. I have to say, initially, I was very happy that she was starting with the end of the alphabet and then making it to me, but after sitting there for all of their presentations, I realized, no, I'd rather go earlier. So basically, I could just repeat half of what they said. My colleagues did a wonderful job at presenting. The Atkinson budget is higher, and the request that's coming in is a little bit higher, primarily in one area, and we will get there. As you go through the increases and decreases on the front page, you see a $1,000 increase, and that's basically taking $1,000, adding a new line for art, but then also taking $1,000 out of the general supplies to accommodate for that. So that's just making certain that we allocate those funds directly towards the art program at the academy. When you flip the page over, we see a $1,000 increase in our library for books. And basically, again, as my colleagues have talked about, adding to their libraries, whether it's a classroom library or their actual school library, this book budget is the circulating books, different reference materials, different professional resources, but really more associated to the students themselves. In talking with my librarian, she says that the best practices of the libraries is to budget for one new book per child that you have in the school at a cost of about $21 per book. So for our school for next year, it's estimated around $7,600. She asked for an additional $1,000 to bring that number up to just $7,000. So that's that increase there. The next one is the largest increase, and there's two main drivers there. One is for 5 new cafeteria tables, and the other is for the other part of that is for some whiteboards for a couple of the classrooms that still have chalkboards that probably came out of the 1803 building and were moved over. It's going back and talking about the cafeteria tables. The cafeteria tables themselves, we have 10 that we actively use. 5 were purchased, I would say, within the past 3 to 5 years. Quick, easy up, locks, no problem. The other 5 are, I would estimate, anywhere from 15 to 20 plus years old. They're definitely more clunky to open, to close. They take a couple of people. You have to get in and kind of adjust, and they seem hazardous as I look at that, and I watch the custodians lifting them up and down. And I'm concerned about their safety, lifting them up and down. And they're getting to the end of their usable cycle. So what I'd like to do is replace 5 of the tables, kind of matching the other 5 that are much easier for our staff to use, and that would match. So that's really the big driver for us, is that, or the big cost. Otherwise, we try to keep things as stable as possible in our budget. We've been very good status quo. We have a wonderful playground, thanks to the leadership that was there before me. What's that?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Looking around and, there's always things that we want to add, but, we look towards other sources, towards PTA, and towards our volunteers and, and our community. So, all in all, I think Atkinson's in good shape.
And you're not looking at a big increase either in student population, are you?
No, we're looking at probably adding one class, but it'll be through shifting,
So it's just, yeah.
I believe so, yeah. You know, and that's all variable depending upon, as the numbers shake out as we move through this year.
The breakdown in cost in the 1,500 for the whiteboards, the tables, how much are the tables and how much are the whiteboards?
That's in my car. The tables come up, the tables are a bulk of it. So if we're looking at an increase there, 15,789, the line increases to 15,789, I would say about 14 to 14,500 is the tables. They're about $2,400 a piece shipped.
If you can find them.
I'm hoping they're there.
That was for 5
Interestingly-
tables again? That was for 5 tables again?
5
Or-
tables total. Yeah, if I remember the dollar amount correctly, they're about, like I said, about $2,400 a piece shipped. We did shop around and find a couple of different vendors to provide that. And interestingly, one company was charging $800 to ship all 5, or $850. The other company was charging like $600 per table to ship. So I thought, okay, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So it's definitely paying to take that extra look to see, because sometimes the table itself may be a little bit more expensive, but the other side of the shipping may be a little bit
As long
less.
as you get the quality you want, the safety factors you want.
We looked at all of those.
Fingers get stuck in those tables.
Yep, we looked at all of those
Janitors'
factors.
hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now you
and
just
that's-
have to make sure that you order 5, 3 don't get backlogged, and they start shipping them piecemeal.
Well, it's funny, we ordered 5 tables.
One at a time.
Here's a seat.
We ordered
That's
5
how-
tables for our kindergarten, the past school year, and when they came in, all 5 had been just demolished in shipment.
Damaged.
So they were able to reimburse and fix that. But yeah, I laughed when I saw the boxes. I said, no, this is not gonna work.
So what would happen to the old tables?
They are really not safe.
Yeah.
This is why this is a safety issue.
Yeah.
Those
I-
tables aren't safe. They, like Sue said, the fingers get caught, custodians
So we're
had
not
get.
looking to repurpose them somewhere else?
I
They-
hope
they-
not.
What's happened to them, Mike, over the years, I think they've been fixed and welded and different parts put on. They're coming
of
to the
life.
end of their cycle. It's like that old 1975 Volvo that passed that just needs a little bit, that push to the junkyard.
Okay,
So,
scrap.
I just had one question.
Sure.
You were saying the tables were about $2,400 a piece?
about 2,400, they came in, I have all the documentation in the car, I just didn't bring it in, but the 5 of them makes up the bulk of that request.
All right.
I want to say the whiteboards are around $1,000 to $1,200 total.
Okay, all
Of
right.
that,
Just
so.
because 5 tables at 2,400 is only 12,000.
Say they were 2,800. Here we go.
He
Oh,
did
and the
include shipping.
whiteboards, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to look into, I'm hearing all the whiteboards, that's another thing that I am actually interested in looking district-wide, because we do use whiteboards in every single classroom, so
Problem is the
more to come.
whiteboards at her building in the space you need it in is, 6 by 3, and in his building.
Oh, it's all different.
They're all different sizes, so you get this order form that
And
looks.
we probably have the same as the walkie-talkies, that some of them have been
Right,
replaced
right.
constantly, some of them not.
You
but-
bought AT&T and they bought something else, and they bought, I mean,
And I
that's just.
feel like too, with the whiteboards, there's an installation charge, and it was something like, it was something funky that you couldn't have, like, the custodians do it.
Oh, yeah, I remember at the middle school, we couldn't have them put
Because
up. We
something
couldn't have our
cracks or,
janitors
yeah.
put them up.
That's silly.
Yeah, I remember my room.
Was that part of the price? Do you recall? Anybody? Is that
I
part
do
of
not
the
recall
bill?
that on the
'Cause that
pricing.
seems a little ludicrous.
Yeah, look,
Just make sure it's not a tag on.
We're looking for 1 or 2 like 1 class worth, so it would be a small enough thing for, hopefully, our custodians to do.
Put it up.
But if you were gonna do an entire school, I would imagine you'd have a vendor.
Nancy, reach out to Carl and ask him, because I know Blake has put so in other schools, so definitely reach out and don't
Okay.
Yeah, don't reach out to Carl and ask facilities if that's something. I'm pretty sure Blake has installed
What's the,
whiteboards.
whiteboards versus chalkboards? Why, what's the, we can project on the whiteboard if you have a projector.
Every classroom has a projector,
I know.
right?
Some with cords. And so therefore you can write on the, you can write with a bright marker and then erase, right? Are they magnetic?
Yes.
I love that part of it, because I used to put up stuff all over the board.
Yeah.
And they have a longer life than the 1872 chalkboard?
They have a longer life. I think the other thing, when you look at the chalkboards, I mean, it's very old, they're dusty, you know, any
Yeah.
kid with an allergy or anything like that. I remember back in the day, there were teachers in the middle school that I worked at that had allergic reactions to the chalk as they were writing.
Higher visibility and
Yeah, my
differential
hands
between the
would break
different
out.
color markers.
Oh, yeah. You can do so much more with the whiteboards.
Yeah, I had an issue with the chalk, I would break out,
Yeah.
my hands would break out. So we're going whiteboards all over the district eventually? I mean, there's gotta be some rooms that still have,
We do have all over the district.
all over.
I think you're the only one that still has a chalkboard.
And I may have found another classroom after I submitted my budget that was chalkboard as well.
I don't think do any other of your schools have chalkboards? No.
We have some that have both.
Both, I like both, yeah.
They cover the chalkboards.
Yeah.
Or they cover them, yeah. Well,
There
with
you
the
go.
whiteboard.
That tells you
because-
what you need to know, yeah.
With the whiteboard, because,
Right,
yeah.
I would just put magnets all over the chalkboard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't know there was still a class or a couple of classrooms
There's
that did
two.
not have whiteboards, yeah.
Any other questions for Atkinson? Yes, Mike?
It's a general one for, I think, all of them. I think Nancy said she has it, and Chris said, what are those pits that the kids are using?
Gaga
Gaga
pits.
pits. So do the other schools have this need, or do they already have them?
We actually,
Have a Gaga pit with
It's
3-year-olds.
too little.
Okay.
Even know what could happen
Yeah.
inside.
All right. How about Pollard
I think it's something we'll look at, again.
in
I think it's
Atkinson?
something that we might be able to get.
I feel the same as Stephanie. We'll look at it for the upcoming year to see, because I had them at my old school and the kids absolutely loved it.
The middle school.
Hadn't even thought about it. We have such a wonderful playground in Atkinson. It didn't cross my mind to update that. But, you know, as I think Chris made the mention that it is such an inexpensive
Expensive, yeah,
tool.
that's what caught my mind. If it's inexpensive and highly popular,
Well, and the other
and I
way to
actually,
think
I
about it-
actually asked Mitch, the middle school principal, to get together with the elementary principals and call the company and see if we can get a better deal. If we're gonna order
We
5
just-
of them.
yeah, We just put one in at the Y too.
Mention that?
We put a big Gaga pit in at the Y here in Plastow. It's
We have
beautiful.
pool.
All right.
Well, what's great is it's
Next
the
to the
little
pool.
ones, first through fifth, they all use it.
Right, right.
It's amazing. My son
We've had
plays
staff
Gaga and
Gaga
he
games.
loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the old Dutch ball.
Right, yeah, right.
That's what it
That's
is.
what, essentially, that's what it is. It's dodgeball within a coliseum.
I thought we
Good way
stopped
to
throwing
explain
things
it.
at each other.
Yeah. And you can't, and it doesn't
Like
come,
below the.
The
it doesn't go out in the parking lot, it stays within the pit.
So next year, when the budget committee tours the schools, we'll play Gaga.
There you go.
We can close this, we can just keep going and.
Actually,
We should put one here. That's actually a very good idea.
This-
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other business, do we have any other business? Mike and I have business afterwards. Future agenda, our next meeting is the 27th, is that correct?
Yes.
And that night, we'd be hearing athletics and music, the CIP hopefully will be done by then, the middle school and transportation SAU, so we're getting there. Thank you guys for coming.
you.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Any other business? If not, I'm going to adjourn. Yes, Mike?
We asked Mark, did you talk to the school board about this joint meeting and this, getting-
Yeah, and Kim spoke with Todd, and they were getting a date together, but then Todd got sick, so I don't know what that date is. I will follow up.
I believe it's gonna be December 8th.
It's on the calendar.
No, I see that it's on the calendar. I think my question though was about the topic of getting
Yep.
one of these people in that's highly knowledgeable on this voucher program.
You want it that night too? You'd
Well, I
want
think it'd
that-
be the best, so if they can share this information to both boards I think would benefit by knowing what's going on.
All right, let's speak to Todd about that, because it's our meeting, we're inviting the school board too. They're
So
coming to us.
let's have it our meeting, invite the school board, and
And the
possibly
voucher people.
invite that
Yeah.
knowledgeable person.
Yeah.
And then everybody
More
gets to
estimates.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can you run that by, you
Yep.
need to, and I'll speak to Todd about it. If not, I'm adjourning at 20:22. Good night.
All right, nice job, Sue.
If you're speaking to Todd about that, what would you like me to do?